Hi everyone, you guys are back here for another weekly video with me, Brandy from Brush by Brandy, and this week we are going to be working on this finish behind me. So you can kind of see this finish down below, and this is going to be in a separate video. I'm going to keep the paint finish separate because this finish on the top here is a resin pour, and I think it deserves a video all on its own. It's a process in itself, and I really want you guys to be able to learn how to go through this. So keep an eye out. This one will be available on my YouTube channel. But let's go ahead and work on this resin pour. So I'm going to be using Amazing Clear Cast resin from Alumilite, which is my favorite resin to pour with. And their Amazing Clear Cast Plus has UV resistance in it, which makes it perfect for pouring on these white finishes. I'm going to use some Dixie Belle paint. There's a little bit of glitter and pearlescent mica powders in there. Show you how to get these colors and a really natural looking stone finish that's all done with resin. Now this is going to be a bathroom vanity for my customer. She's going to be cutting the top and putting bowl sinks on it. And this resin finish makes this top waterproof. This is wood under here. So it's going to take a wood furniture piece and make it waterproof so that this can be used in a bathroom setting. And there's a million different colors and ways that you could use this resin finish. But we're going to make faux marble this week. So let's go take a look. I hope you guys enjoy the process. And if you like this video, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome to another week on my YouTube channel. This week we are going to be pouring faux marble resin tops. I picked up these pieces off my local Facebook marketplace. This first one had a crack in the marble top, and so it needed to be poured with resin, but my customer wants to use these as bathroom vanities, and the resin tops are going to keep them completely waterproof, so it's actually a perfect finish for these. She's going to be adding bowl sinks to them by cutting holes in the tops, and the resin's going to be the exact finish that these need. I started both pieces off by giving them a thorough scuff sanding and then covering the tops in Dixie Belle Slick Stick, which is a gripping primer. All right, let me walk through everything we've done to prepare for a resin pour. I'm going to be pouring 2 tops. Makes my workspace look like a mess because it's got a lot of preparation to it. But what we started with was wrapping the entire body of this furniture piece, starting at the bottom, going up, and that's so that the plastic overlaps itself and any resin will run downwards. I've covered the floor in cardboard because I will get drips. And then underneath, I used a painter's tape to tape up the underside of my piece. And then it connects to the plastic so anything will drip down. We've put a level on there and it has a few shims underneath to make sure that that is a perfectly level surface, and that one is ready to go. As far as the top, I've given it a coat of Dixie Belle Slick Stick, which is a gripping primer, and then a coat of my paint, which is French linen. That's just so it will tie into the colors that I'm going to be using on the body. This is going to be a coordinating piece. Same process. I've got it up. It's raised above so that I make sure that I don't get anything up underneath. I've got my paint containers. We put a level on this one with some shims. You can see the shims right there, keeping it nice and level. And there's cardboard protecting the floor so that it doesn't drip. I have my blow dryer out so that I can use that to move the resin around. I've got my tripod out so that I can video when my hands are being tied up. And then over here is where I'm going to actually mix my resin. So I've got my Amazing Clear Cast Plus, which is the resin that I'm going to use. I'm choosing the Clear Cast Plus because it has UV resistance. I'm going to be using white in my colors. I do not want my resin to yellow over time. I've got out my gloves, of course. I've got out some popsicle sticks for stirring, a large mixing container. These are 2 paint colors I'm going to mix into my resin. I've got out some glitter, my Alumidust, which is mica powder, that's a pearlescent, white resin dye, and then some tools that I'm going to be using to move my resin around. Of course, my torch for getting air bubbles out, and this is where I'm going to be mixing from. We're going to get ready to do some mixing. A couple recommendations before we get started. Under my workspace, I keep silicone mats. They're pretty coated in resin right now, but they protect my workstation from getting coated in resin. So I keep silicone mats under there. And then I also recommend labeling your lids because once you set them down, you won't remember which one goes to your part A and part B. And that way I know they go in the right lid. And the reason you want to do that is because they get some of the resin on there, and then if you're mixing it, you will end up resin sealing your lids onto your containers at some point. Don't ask me how I know that. All right, so Amazing Clear Cast Plus is a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm going to go ahead and mix in this cup that I've made sure is clear of resin on the inside. I just peel off all my old resin bits. And there is a calculator on the Alumilite website. I'm going to go ahead and use the guess and check method. And I'm going to mix about 24 ounces total. So that's 12 ounces of A and 12 ounces of part B. And that's going to do both of my tops that I need to pour. All right, so I'm right at the 24 ounce mark, and now I'm going to go ahead and mix these. I want to mix them for about 4 minutes, and I'm going to make sure that I'm pulling up from the bottom, getting that part A and part B mixed. Okay, a couple things. I did make sure that my workspace is nice and well ventilated. My workshop is actually part of my garage, so I've got the large door open here. So make sure your space is well ventilated. So this, you can look at your containers, and it shows 1-to-1 ratio by volume. That's the part A and part B. It's got a working time of about 30 to 40 minutes. So once I put those two together, I've got about 30 to 40 minutes that I can play with this resin mixture. And then a full demold time of 24 to 48 hours. That is when I'll be able to come out and feel that it's hard and has started to cure. So you can look at your containers for that information. I've gone ahead and stirred my resin, and I've got my clear mixture here. So what I want to do is I'm going to pour this into individual Dixie cups, and that's so that I can mix it into different colors. So my 30 to 40 minute working time has already started, and I will use every minute of that doing these two tops. So I'm going to work fairly quickly. All right, I want about 4 colors, and then I always give myself a cup of just extra clear, and that is anything that I need to mix by the end. If I'm short on a color, I have clear left over that I can mix into whatever color I need it into. All right, I'm going to clean off my spatula, and then the colors I'm going to mix is I'm going to use Dixie Belle French Linen. Now, Dixie Belle is a water-based chalk mineral paint, but what I found is it takes very minimal paint, and if you use just the slightest amount of the paint, you can mix it into resin colors. So I love that I have so much variety of colors I can get. So I just take the tiniest amount. If you use too much, it can actually cause foaming in your resin, but the tiniest bit of that paint is friendly to it. So just knowing the limits of the product really helps. All right, so I've got my French Linen color mix. That's a nice soft grayish color. My next color that I'm going to mix is going to be Hurricane Gray, which is a dark gray. I'm going to do the same thing. Just the slightest bit of that. Just the tip of the popsicle stick for each one of these Dixie cups is about how I measure my paint. That gives me 2 shades of gray. Now I'm going to use my Illumidust. I'm going to start with the black pearl, and I'm going to make myself some black. And that's going to have a pearlescent sheen to it. This is going to make those ribbons of pearl that make it look like real stone. I'm going for sort of a marbleized effect. All right, that get me a nice rich black with a pearlescent effect. And then my next one is actually going to be white, so I'm going to use a different popsicle stick. And I'm going to mix a white pearl. This is also Illumidust. I'm just going to use a clean popsicle stick so I don't introduce any black into there. And this one I have to show up close because it's so pretty, the pearlescent effect. Make sure I get all that into my resin. I don't want to waste any of it on the sides of my cup. And the sheen on that is gorgeous. So those are my 2 pearlized effects. I've got my clear. Anything that I do happen to drip on my workstation, this is stainless steel. I can come back and I just scrape it off with a razor blade. All right, my main portion here is going to be white. So I'm going to use my Alumilite resin dye. And I want it to be nice and opaque, so I drip quite a bit of the white resin dye in there. And that's going to turn this to a white opaque. All right, and I think I'm going to add a little bit of glitter in here. So I've just got some holographic glitter. Let's see, I also have some white holographic glitter. I don't think that's going to show very well. We'll go ahead and use this guy here. I'm just going to pour a little bit of this holographic glitter in there, just for a little bit of unexpected shimmer. And I'm going to also put a little bit of this black glitter in my dark gray and a little bit in my Illumidust. That's going to give it variation in the thickness of the Alright, so I've got a little bit of glitter in there, and I'm going to start pouring these pieces. Now I'm going to try to work 2 pieces at the same time. do my second pour on the top of these tops that we started yesterday. It's been about 12 hours, probably 18 hours, closer to 18. And I like to do it within the 24-hour range because the surface is not fully cured. And that's so the two coats can amalgamate together and bond a little bit better, but there are a couple things I also do to help bond it. So the first thing I'm going to do is give a light scuff sanding to this. I'm just using one of my Surf Prep rad pads, and I've wrapped it around a sanding block just to make it easier to use. And I'm just going to give it a light sanding. I'm not going to really see the difference, but it lightly scuffs the top of the resin. And that's okay because I am going to put another coat on here, so that light scuffing I don't worry about. And then I'm going to clean it with rubbing alcohol, 90% rubbing alcohol. I'm just using a shop towel, and I'm going to pour some on there. And that gets off any fingerprints that I put on here because I did run my hand across it so that I could touch the surface, because you got to touch it. It's super smooth. So I just clean it with a rubbing alcohol and get any oils from my hands off, and that also is cleaning off any of the dust from that light sanding that I just gave it. All right, you guys, we're going to go mix some resin. You guys want to mix today? And I'm going to mix about 24 ounces. So 12 ounces of A and 12 ounces of B. right, guys, I'm to the point where I feel like I need to quit. I will come back in about an hour and I will just scrape my finger along the underside and just pick up any drips. But other than that, I'm just going to let these dry. It's about 24 to 48 hour cure time. So I'll be able to come back out here tomorrow. I'm going to leave this space completely untouched, nobody coming in or out of it so that dust isn't introduced. And when I come back tomorrow, these should be beautiful. So that's pretty much it. 2 coats, working really fast. I used about 48 ounces of resin for 2 tops. Obviously the larger one took the majority of it. Don't feel intimidated about resin, you guys. It's actually a pretty fun process and a really cool look. All right, I'm gonna pop off. Thanks for hanging out with me last night and tonight, you guys. That is it for this resin pour. These are done. It did take about an hour, hour and a half to do both portions of this. That includes my mixing. Here is the final result though. These tops came out incredible. They are perfectly smooth like glass. I did this over the course of 2 pours. I did them in the course of 2 days, which was back to back. And I'm thrilled with the results. It's a lot of prep and a lot of work, but there's nothing else like a resin top. As always, you can find links for everything I used in this video in the description for this post. If you enjoyed this video, you can find more Brush by Brandy on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube, and on my website at brushbybrandy.com. There's also a second video for these, for the paint finish that's on the bodies. You can find that on my YouTube channel as well, and linked in the description for this post.